Hi, my name's Tony Selzo. Welcome to The Buzz. I've got Tom Bucci in, right? Did I pronounce that?
You said it right.
Yeah, you know, not bad for a paisan, huh? With Archadeck. And you've been in Bloomington now for how long?
For a long time, since 1971. I haven't owned the franchise of the company that long, but I'm a Bloomington guy.
You've been in the building kind of development space since mid-70s.
Right. Been in the construction business, did a subdivision in Bloomington, learned a lot about building and construction.
How'd you get into this?
Well, it was kind of a natural kind of progression from the experience of doing the development, realizing that home building is an art. Involves the coordination of a lot of subcontractors. I guess after that was all over with, I decided I didn't want my life to be quite that complicated.
Okay.
But remodeling appealed to me.
Sure.
Especially custom remodeling, doing things on an individual basis for homeowners. At that time, the franchise that existed here in Indianapolis became available.
Okay.
Bought the territory on the west side of Indianapolis.
Okay.
And expanded the territory down into Bloomington, over to Columbus.
Wow.
So I'm a busy guy. I cover a lot of ground.
I guess. So home remodeling, but it tends to be a higher end. I mean, with custom, you tend to get a higher end kind of home remodeling, right?
You do. You do. You tend to attract, or at least I try to attract, people that want quality. Okay. First and foremost.
So what tends to be the purchase price, or I mean, what kind of value are we talking about homes when you go in? I mean, are they $250 and up? I mean, do they fit a certain genre? What is your sweet spot?
Yeah, typically our niche is around $250,000 on up. Okay. Probably towards $750. $750? That's the bulk.
Okay. So I mean, the name Archadeck would make people think that you do decks, but you do so much more than that. You're doing decks, you're doing any kind of landscaping, anything of, like, I would say almost the indoor experience and the bridge thereof. That tends to be your sweet spot. Is that correct?
Yeah, I like to call it designing a backyard environment.
Okay.
I have a group of subcontractors that I work with that can do most anything, from building a simple deck to a complicated four-season room and anything else in the backyard you'd like to do, to include landscaping, retaining walls, water features. Sure. The idea being to design a backyard environment that's the natural extension of your inside space.
Cool. So Tom, I'm going to change gears for a second.
All right.
What do you think about this media-driven, as I would tell you, recession that we got going on here?
What recession would that be?
Good. Yeah.
Well, I tend to try to ignore a lot of the selling of newspapers these days. Sure, we're in times that are a little difficult, but I've been around this planet for a few years, and I've seen all of this happen before, and it seems like this country is pretty good at getting into trouble, but even better at getting out of it.
Amen, huh?
So I think that's...
I think we cycle out of these things a lot faster than we probably did in the past, and unfortunately we have an environment where people tend to believe what they read or what's put on TV, and you know, I've talked to a lot of friends, and you know, my personal opinion is that the media drove us into a recession before really any of the economic drivers that they were speaking of really put us there. And it's kind of funny when, you know, the self-fulfilling prophecy can be alive and well even for the United States, right?
Well, that's true. I remember in the early 50s, way before you were born, that we were in a similar situation, and I remember President Eisenhower coming on television and telling all of us, for crying out loud, just go out and buy something.
Amen.
And when he did, we all did, and it was over with.
Yeah, go out and buy something. There you go. That's what we need to do. Get an Archadeck.
That's what we need to do.
Get a deck, or put some money in the house, because, you know, it's better than the market, right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, you've been kind of new to this networking thing, and I know you and I have been talking about helping you put a strategy together to get that moving. And one of the things that I actually came up with an idea that I want to talk to you about, but I think marketing's changing, isn't it? Is that fair to say that stuff that used to work doesn't work as well as it did before? It sure doesn't create the ROI it used to.
I think we're in a rapidly changing environment. I'll be the first to admit that marketing is not my forte.
Sure.
But I've seen the face of it change dramatically in the last 10 years. In a previous life, I guess I was more pointed toward the production side of a business, didn't worry too much about the marketing part of it, but I viewed it as rather simple.
Yeah.
You put your name in the paper once in a while, you put your name in the yellow pages, and that's about it.
Yeah.
You know, business came your way.
Do a good job, and then people would talk about you. And
well, I think that still exists.
sure.
I think that still exists, and probably is still your best marketing venue. But e-commerce is here to stay.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm here to learn about it.
Well, you know, I think you take e-commerce, you talk about social media, you talk about blogging, you talk about, you know, what I would kind of throw that in a big bag called guerrilla marketing. You know, it's understanding how to do a lot with very little. And to make a huge impact in the marketplace. It's I think you mentioned this, is like, you know, our customers are more important than they've ever been before. Someone asked me the other day, and they were talking to Rainmakers about Rainmakers. They said, you know, have you ever thought about having a full-time sales force to go out and sell Rainmakers? And I said, yeah, it's called a membership. You know, I mean, we provide them with the tools, and you know, every time I've ever looked at what we got to do to sell more, to bring more people in Rainmakers, it always goes back to how do we create more value for those members so they want to bring more people in. And I think, you know, that's some of the stuff that we're talking about with, you know, that I want to talk to you about. But strategic relationships historically for remodelers have been maybe realtors in your space, because they can refer, you know, they're right after the purchase of a home. Absolutely. And they can make a great recommendation to you. There's punch lists that they need to kick out before they I know Eric Schneller has done a great job of leveraging that. 45% of his business comes from realtors. So that would be something I would recommend. You know, best strategies are stolen, you know, and since you're very much in a market that he's not playing, I don't think he would be too disgruntled with me to tell you to go ahead and steal it. You know, anybody else that's influencing the purchase price of a home, a mortgage guy, you know, a title company in your area that we could put, you know, your pamphlets in and do a drop, and you know, and maybe you're doing a first-time home buyer seminar where you're talking about how you could put $15,000 in the home and get $45,000 of equity, that kind of thing. You know, it might be some of the ways we talk about how you can grow your business. So if you are a realtor in the South Indy, Central Indy, Columbus, Bloomington area, we want to connect you to Tom. If you a mortgage guy, if you tend to be maybe even a title company, I would think that would be some of the strategic relationships we're working with. Got any other ideas?
Associated trades in the building industry, often electricians or plumbers or other home services come in contact.
Great point. Anybody else doing home improvement in the home that, you know, that could be a nice cooperative or complementive value proposition, could be a great strategic relationship for you. Hey Tom, I just did this plumbing job. I know they need a deck. I know they need an add-on. Bada boom, bada bing. You know.
A lot of people in the remodeling business that focus on the inside of the house, although we do some of that, is really not our niche. So those are complementary.
Great strategic relationship there. Yeah, if you're doing more interior work, Tom could do the exterior. There's a good win-win there.
Yeah, there was a recent example of opportunity that worked the other way. I did a backyard project for someone who wanted remodeling done, wanted their basement finished during the winter, and we didn't have the necessary personnel at the time to do that, so I outsourced it. I outsourced it to him.
Tom Bucci, you've been on the buzz. It's always good to have another Paisan in the studio. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.